Affected by many struggles in this world,
we are still thankful to God, for He helps us and guides us. We're members of the Church of Christ. The commandments of God we'll obey. He'll never forsake His servants who remain faithful to Him. We are loyal till the end. In serving God we will be consistent. We are loyal till the end. In serving God we will be consistent.
lumalaganap pa ang kahirapan dito sa mundo. Di tayo dapat na matakot ni malito. Maraming mga tiisin at suliranin. Ang pag-asa natin manatatiling matatag pa rin. Kaya magtapat tayong lubos, hindi tayo pababayaan ng ating Diyos. Siya ang makapangyarihang mandirigma. Sa Kanya tayo ay laging magtiwala.
Always do the things that please Him. We will never betray Him.
We live a life according to His instructions, so we'll attain the promised salvation. We're members of the Church of Christ.
The commandments of God will obey.
He'll never forsake His servants who remain faithful to Him. We are loyal till the end. In serving God we will be consistent. We are loyal till the end. In serving God we will be consistent.
Lumalaganap ang kahirapan dito sa mundo. Di tayo dapat na matakot ni malito. Maraming mga tiisin at suliranin. Ang pag-asa natin mananatiling matatag pa rin. Kaya magtapat tayong lubos, hindi tayo pababayaan ng ating Diyos. Siya ang makapangyarihang mandirigma. Sa Kanya tayo ay laging magtiwala.
superhuman, superhuman energy. God gives me 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 superhuman, superhuman energy. How brightly shine, how brightly shine. Shine as the light of the world. No troubles come in this life of mine. As the fruits of me, they keep on working, keep on inviting. I will not rest nor be weary. For the Lord God gives me superhuman energy. For the Lord God gives me superhuman energy.
Good evening po mga ka-UJ. My name is Kyle, and along with Bea and Randall, we are back for another episode. Now, for our loyal fans, our loyal listeners, our loyal watchers, last week we were talking about buying and selling online. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about simple saving and spending tips. We're going to have both spending and saving. Now, what's the best way to save? What's the best way to spend? It is 2021 and we all have supercomputers in our pockets now. So, how do we use technology, for example, to make our saving and our spending more efficient and effective? Because I will be honest with you, sometimes I set a goal to save and I miss that goal. So we will try to discuss those things tonight with Bea, me, and Randall. So let's find out right now.
electric and water bill natin, syempre. Yung groceries, meron din po tayong ibinubukod para sa mga travel expenses.
Food, groceries, as well as for school. Also, I set aside for my savings.
Food such as going out with my friends or buying groceries, as well as school, being able to pay off my tuition, and as well as treating myself with clothes, or skincare.
Spending money on food because I love eating out with friends and going out with family. Another expense, of course, is personal care. So sometimes I like to buy things for my hair, buy clothes and whatnot.
My top expenses would probably go to food and education.
I think this is a very difficult one because there's a lot of things that I have to save for.
A lot of unexpected bills to pay.
May mga times lang ang challenging part lang dyan kapag may mga emergency o kailangan mo unahin to, syempre mag-a-adjust ka ngayon.
Temptations and trying to see whether or not, like if I find something online and I see it, I'm just like, oh, I need to buy it. I have to buy it.
Deciding whether or not I really need that particular product or service at that given moment.
If it's not part of the budget that I have allotted, I would probably not buy it.
I think I would buy it because it would be cheaper than the original price.
Feeling ko, hindi na muna. Kung hindi naman kailangan, syempre hindi ko nabibilin.
Yes, I think sometimes we also have to reward ourselves.
No, do you really need it? Are you going to use it in the long term? And for me, that's like a good question I try to ask myself all the time, so that if ever there's that kind of temptations where I do want something, I have to really think about it.
Hello ba mga ka-UJ! Yes! Of course, with me, Kuya Randall and Kuya Kyle. Magandang gabi po mga ka-UJ. You are now watching UJ Radio, and of course, we have watched ano nga ba yung mga nauna. So every weekend po ang aabangan nyo dito sa UJ Radio. We are live from INC TV and of course on INC Production Company's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Hello po! Alright.
And saying, of course, a good evening to all of our viewers on Facebook, to our Facebook family, saying hello to Joshua all the way from Alaminos City, Pangasinan. How is the weather up in north? Also to, let's see, Naje from Davao del Norte, Sofia, I've always loved that name, Sofia. District of Columbia, yes, from Laguna as well, to Teddy. Isabella South, to Elsie, to Italy. How's the weather in Italy? What time is it in Italy right now? Randall, you should know. You're a pilot.
We are 8 hours ahead of them, if I'm not mistaken.
I love it. I love how you memorize all the time zones. 8 hours ahead of Italy. That's fantastic.
All right, so welcome po sa lahat ng mga ka-UJ from different time zones all across the globe. And of course, Brother Kyle has already mentioned all the greetings from his end. Let me do mine. Hello po kina kapatid na Noni, Sister Joanne, and Brother Joseph po from Midtown Toronto District of Greater Toronto. In fact, bago po tayo nag-online kanina, they already messaged me. Sabi, we are all ready. Sabi ko, it's early, but we have 30 more minutes for that. And thank you po for watching. And I'd also like to greet happy birthday po to our Lola. Lola Sining po, happy 84th birthday. Ayan.
Wow, happy birthday!
We really wanted to be there po. And unfortunately, our schedule didn't allow us to. My greetings, of course, coming from all of us, Lola Sining, from Leon and Prince and myself and the entire family. Belated happy birthday as well to Sister Jane from Calubang, Calamba City. Happy birthday to Tito Romy, isa po sa mga masugid nating followers from Cairns Group Worship Service. And hello na rin sa buong Mendoza family and the Villegas family in Cairns Group Worship Service in Australia. Happy birthday. This will be my last birthday greeting. Happy birthday to Ate Malen. And hello to Erwin and the kids from Renton, Washington State. They're also tuned in for this evening's episode. Tito Cesar, Tita Evan, Sister Jen from Long Beach. I had a great time po. 5 days ago, that was when I was there. Thank you for catering po, and I was able to attend the worship service. And hello po sa lahat ng mga nanonood sa atin and those who we haven't greeted po the last time. Thank you po. And this is kind of like related to our previous topic po. So stay tuned. Ayan, Bea.
Alright. Ayun. So, meron na nga po mga nagre-react po sa ating comment sections na relate daw po sila sa ating topic for tonight. At bagay po sa akin ito May naggaganon pa nga pong tanong. So, eto na. We will be starting our discussion. So, Kuya Kyle and Kuya Randall, I have a question. Do you envelope your budget? Kasi syempre ako yung medyo bunso dito. So, I'm kind of curious. How do you keep your budget po? Kuya Randall muna.
Okay. Speaking about savings and budgeting, it takes me back in time 2004. Back then, I was working for this guy who owns 4 business jets. Now, here comes my story again. He owns 4
business jets, huh?
Exactly. And this was upstate in Ohio. And this guy's really so keen when it comes to saving. As a matter of fact, every time he gives in our paycheck, late 1990s, early 2000s, it was literally Brother Kyle and Bea, a paycheck placed inside an envelope. And for some reasons, every time he gives us our paycheck, he writes down a saying dun lang sa corner ng envelope. And at one point, it says, this is what he wrote: saving is not all about how much you're earning, but it's all about how much you get to save from what you're earning. It makes sense to me, right? Because if we have 2 people, one's earning 75 grand a month, and the other one is earning even half, like 35,000 a month. But then if this guy doesn't have the capacity to save, like the guy who earns 75,000 a month spends more than how much he earns, at the day of the retirement, who do you think, Kyle and Bea, would be at a better stand financially? Of course, the guy who gets to save, even if he gets a little bit less of earnings every month. So it makes sense to me. And as a matter of fact, when I look at that guy way back 2004, I can tell that he practices what he preaches. By meaning to say, I look at his cell phone, he's using not the latest cell phone that you have in the industry, but then it fits the purpose of having cell phone. As long as it works fine, he could text message, or not even text message, call or retrieve voice messages, then it's fine for him. So that in fact became a pattern for us, my wife and I, and how we deal with our budgeting. So as long as we get some savings, but of course, everything of this that I've been telling you right now, Kyle, Bea, and our viewers, would come in or would follow after po nating maisimpan na yung para sa ating church obligation. Because ganun po ang turo sa atin, ano po ba? So after we've set aside for our sacred obligations, for our offerings, and of course, here follows the budgeting. So we talk about what do we have to pay, whom do we owe, and then at the end of the line, we try to calculate everything that it doesn't go far and beyond of what we do receive monthly. So it makes sense. So it all boils down to it's a financial discipline. That's how I make things work when it comes to saving. And how about you, Brother Kyle?
I think number one, I used to be that guy, yung spend more than save. When you're young. So I think like a lot of our viewers right now, a lot of them I assume are Binhi and Kadiwa, especially if they're on YouTube or Facebook. So my first piece of advice for Bea, for example, since Brother Randall and I are a bit older, is to start as young as you can to save as much as possible. Don't be like me, na medyo you start late. But I think one of the reasons why I spent a lot more than I saved is because I was always trying to start a business or two. So, the saying, you have to spend money to make money. But at the same time, not all of us need, like Randall said, we don't all need a 5G phone, because those 5G phones are like thousands and thousands of dollars. We don't need that. We don't need the iPhone 13 that's coming out later this month, right? So we all don't need there's that balance between spending and saving. But I think for right now, I use an envelope system to save. And it's something that I had to learn, over the past, ever since I graduated from college. I don't know how you do it, Brother Randall. Do you have a specific system for your saving?
As a matter of fact, I really don't. We just tend to list all the obligations that we have. Of course, we are in the world where credit is really normal. It's part of the norms. And then basically the necessities, we have medicine, maintenance for our lolas and our parents, and then emergency fund, of course. And then we have for budget for the utilities. There we go. We have the electricity, we have water, and the groceries, just like what we've heard earlier. But apart from that, whatever is left out of it, we tend to save it for days that are unexpected. And it always comes. And it comes handy if you have something that you could pull out of your bank account or your pocket. But mind you, Kyle and Bea, some people actually depend on some apps, which I'm not really certain of. But I've heard there are certain people that go with the apps. They plug in figures of how much they get per week or per 15 days or so, and then from there they'd have to divide it. But I do it like a tally way of doing it. And
pen and paper. I have a question though, since you're already married, and I'm still single. I remember growing up, my mom would be the one to handle a lot of my finances. So is it the same way in your household where your wife handles a lot of the finances? You just kind of hand over your paycheck?
For the most part of it, yes, she does. And there are specific expenses that I personally want to look at, like the house, the home loans, car loans. I'm done with that, luckily.
Yeah, congratulations.
I know. Sometimes, especially with what's going on right now, that we're not really receiving as much as we did before prior to this pandemic. You really have to scrutinize and draw the line between the needs and the wants, all those things that are necessary and the things that you may or may not have. So you have to toe the line with what's categorized as needs and what's just simply wants. And it's a matter of discipline. Again, it goes back to financial discipline, if I may call it. And that's just me there.
Right. Now, so to all of our viewers, again, I imagine a lot of us are younger now, Binhi Kadiwa, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen to my life in 10 years? I will tell you right now, and I'm sure Brother Randa will agree with me, and Bea when she comes back, that a huge part of our budget, per se, does happen to be, well, the roofs over our heads. A large part of my budget goes to my rent. If you're maybe in the States or somewhere around the world, you're probably paying off a mortgage for your house. Randall just finished paying off his car loan, so which is great. That's something he doesn't have to worry about. So if I'm talking about budgeting and I'm using an envelope system, so halimbawa, when I say envelope system, ibig sabihin po na let's say I have 12 envelopes, and those 12 envelopes are categories in which I spend the most money. So the biggest envelope that I have is for my rent. After rent, let's say probably food and groceries. How about you, Brother Randall? After, let's say you're paying off your car, not your car, your mortgage or your house, what's your next biggest expense?
I'd say the next biggest expense on my end are prime commodities and utilities, because we have ACs to pay for, and you know how
during this
easy it is right now. That a lot of credit cards offer you like try to get this, and you even start paying 3 months from the time you purchased your AC, your TVs and whatnot. And so it's easy to spend just simply because you don't physically see a money paper being pulled out of your pocket. You know how it is when you just simply swipe a card, di mo nakikita na it's money actually. So here comes the bill, Kyle. And my wife was like, so where have you been spending for the past week? Okay. But then finally, you just have to cheer her up by saying, I got that one for you.
Pro tips for when we all get older and get married and we have our wives checking our finances. So I think that would be like the second best piece of advice, besides, for example, again, for all of our younger viewers, to start early and to remember that, well, credit card money is not real money, right?
True.
So again, you spoke of apps kanina po, and there are many apps. There's Mint, there's something called YNAB, You Need a Budget. One that I personally use is called Good Budget. And basically, again, it's a digital version of having envelopes. So I'll have an envelope for my rent. I'll have an envelope for my utilities. I'll have an envelope for my food. I'll have an envelope for pet food. I'll have an envelope for anything under the sun. Of course, I also have an envelope for my offering for our abulay. And I usually do my budgeting once or twice a month, especially during the beginning of the month. So I will lay out, okay, for this month, I have offering every Thursday. I have offering every Sunday. My rent is due on the 20th of every month. So I take and I put money that I make from my jobs, and I put, halimbawa, 18,000 pesos for my rent, a couple thousand pesos for my offering, and I just put in the money for those envelopes. And then throughout the month, I will take out money. So I'm not spending more money than I ought to be. So halimbawa, let's say my food budget, I'm a single guy, so I live alone. I eat out more than I should because I don't know how to cook and I don't want to spend time cooking. So I have a set aside amount for ordering food or getting food. And let's say I put in, I don't know, 9,000 pesos in my food budget, in my food envelope. So I cannot spend more than 9,000 pesos on food for a month. If I do, then I won't have any money in that envelope. So it kind of forces me and reminds me that, hey, I have this set amount for food for the month of July, for example. And in July, of course, we also have our mid-year anniversary Thanksgiving. So I also have a little bit more extra for my offering envelope as well.
That's very true. Actually, you mentioned about preparing everything like the Thanksgiving and all. That comes first or prior to whatever budgeting has to take place.
So all of our viewers right now, since me and Randall have been talking about our expenses, whether you're single or you're married with a family and you're on YouTube or on your Facebook, let me know. I'm curious, and we'll read your responses a little bit later on the show. What are your top 3 expenses for every month, and how do you save? Again, for me, it's always rent, it's always food, and of course, I have an envelope, a special envelope for our offering, and I use an envelope system. If you're like Randall, you use his wife to handle a lot of the finances and the budgeting. That's how my dad uses it. Hi, Dad. I know Mom is the one that handles a lot of the finances in my family. So if you're like my father and brother Randall, please let us know as well. And if you're young, like Bea, like I said, like Ka Randall and I said, it's best to start early, even if you get a small allowance. Over the course of 20 years, I promise you that 100 pesos will be so much more money if you just do not touch it and you save. Just put a special envelope in a jar or something, kind of like a 2021 digital piggy bank. And while we're waiting for your responses, we'll go ahead and get into our next INC MV. This one is called The Blessings Abound, from our INC concert in Central Europe.
Abound, they keep on coming. Every day, the Lord our God is so generous when I pray. I receive His goodwill and protection. His love and His mercy, they keep it in the right direction. If you feel you're slipping, just go to our God, for He's the only one who can give strength to the one. Yeah, He's waiting for you to call upon Him, and He will sing. First need to serve in the proper way. Like a membership, I'm putting the devil on the prowl, trying to get to me, trying to tempt me, trying to get the best of me. I'll fight the winning battle. I ain't phased by the short-lived and the temporary. I don't gotta be known or up that one can know, but I always gotta make sure that my faith is grown. Keep my relationship with God strong. Cause tell me what's the point of having it all if after this life we got no eternal heavenly home? the weight of burdens on the shoulders, pray to God for strength. You know we'll have to endure, you know we'll help endure. There ain't nothing you can do when you trust in Him. So let the blessings fall down, so let the blessings fall down.
Come over, I am proud, where I am proud, running towards the ground.
And we're back once again with Kyle, Bea, and myself. And that was our in concert from Europe entitled Blessings Abound. And once again, for those who have just tuned in, our topic for tonight is simple savings and spending tips. So we will be having a couple of greetings here. Thank you once again for those who have plugged in their comments from Brother Teddy po, Kat Teddy. Sa mga bata, maganda rin po yung at their young age na ituturo na ding mag-save ng money po. Ayan. That's exactly what Kyle was mentioning earlier. Na the earlier you begin, the better you're at. And greetings po from the local of Mississauga, tama. West District of Southern Ontario, Canada po. Happy Saturday to everyone. Hello sa ating mga host. Hello din po sa inyo from Sister Elsie. And that greetings coming from Milan, South District of Italy North. Yeah. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hello po sa mga host, the same thing. And hello mga kapatid mula po sa lokal ng Santa Maria, distrito po ng Ilocos Sur. God bless po to everyone. Ayan. So proud INC here from EVP Pangilinan. And Sophia here. Meron silang mga pinapadala rito, Brother Kyle. Mga emojis and mga cartoon characters. Thank you po. Thank you po. And we're back. So now let's proceed with our soundcheck bumper. Brother Kevin, please.
So this is the mystery sound. Can we play that one more time?
Get a little bit louder, please.
What's that?
It's like a motorcycle passing by.
Something is vibrating. That's the sound my phone makes when I leave it to vibrate on the table, and it's like it's on an alarm. I feel like it's oh man, what is that sound?
I think
again, so all of our viewers, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, can we play that mystery sound one more time? Pwede din construction sa labas. What are your guesses, ladies and gents, on YouTube and Facebook? Let us know. Me, Randall, and Bea will be waiting for your responses because that was our sound check mystery sound. Try to guess what that is by dropping your answers in your comments box, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, with a hashtag soundcheck. Now, let's move on to and move forward with our topic about managing emergencies and unexpected expenses. But before we get to that, Randall and Bea, I want to say thank you to Hillary and to EVP for always tuned in. Am I frozen right now? I should be okay. Is this the magic of the internet not working? Okay, we're good. So regarding our topic for today, we do have some responses, and thank you so much for participating, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. This one is coming from Sophia. I asked earlier, but what are your top 3 expenses every month? Here, Sophia says paying for her car. Maybe you should get some tips from Brother Randall because he's already done doing that. Groceries, because it's important for us to eat every day. And personal necessities po, sabi ni Sophia. Louis France says it is best to start early. As I was suggesting maybe to Bea, and that she start early. I also want to probably add it's never too late to start saving, right? Even if you're 50, you still have at least a decade or 2 to save. So I think it's better, just start. Regardless if you're maybe 20, 23, or like myself, a little bit older in your life, it's always nice to have a cushion of finances for emergencies. And speaking of emergencies, I'm going to get a little personal with Randall right now. What's an emergency that was totally unexpected, but fortunately you were prepared for?
Let me try to see.
On the spot.
Just a couple of months ago, you know how Filipinos' family ties are really close, unlike other culture. I'm not trying to mention any other culture, but when we talk about Filipino family ties, somebody needs help, especially with hospitalization. It could be like cousin of your cousin, like 3rd-degree cousin. Mind you, they text you even in the middle of the night. And of course, we're more than happy and willing to help. So I just couldn't simply mention who, but there was an instance 3 months ago in my family wherein a relative of ours called us in the middle of the night for an emergency purpose. And then without hesitation, I spoke with my wife, and I was like, I think if we really have to do something good once in a while, this is it. No promises of getting paid back, but at least what's best about that is that mas gusto namin yung kaming nakatulong kaysa yung kami yung hinihingan, kami nakatulong kaysa kami humihingi ng tulong. We were happy to lend our arms, and we were there, and we were able to make use of those funds that we've saved for the past 2 years or so. And if people ask, are they able to pay you back? Sabi na lang namin nila yan, one day, if ever we do need it, but God forbid, sana hindi namin kakailanganin, I'm sure God will find means and instrument para meron ding tumulong sa amin. So it's that simple. And one more thing is every time that enrollment comes in, we believe in the thing that you pay forward or you help out and share your blessings. Leon and I, we have scholars that we tend to help, and we do have emergency funds kasi pinapag-aral nga po namin mag-asawa sila. There are times that sudden projects comes up, so we really have to finance and fund them. So yan ang mga pinaka almost every other month na dumadating. And for the most part of it, natutugunan naman. So that's how important the emergency fund is. And it's just a big blessing now. We don't really have to use it for our own personal family. And I hope it doesn't come to that point. Yeah. But again, Brother Cal, it's better having it than not having to use it, rather than a day would come, nakakailanganin mo, and then you haven't prepared for it. So I think the best advice I could give is it doesn't have to be like hardcore every month. I have to have a specific amount. Any amount would do. And you'll be surprised one of these days, you'll be able to come up with funds that would come handy just in case you need it.
So like that being said, I went through a very, hello, Bo. I'm doing good. We're good with the technology. So we're talking about emergency and unexpected expenses. I don't know, and I'm hoping no one else has ever experienced this before. But there was one time recently, a few years ago, where I was going through a very difficult time, especially with one of the ventures that I was venturing into. If you have a negative balance in your bank account, do you know what that looks like, Brother Randall? A negative balance in your bank account.
I haven't yet.
again, I hope you never experience this. A negative balance in your bank account, ladies and gentlemen, young and old, they put it in parentheses. So when you log into your bank account, no matter what bank you are, locally or international, you'll see the number of how much money you have in your bank account. If it's a negative amount, they put that amount in parentheses. So if ever you see a parentheses around the amount that you have in your account, whether it's a checking account or a savings account, and it's in parentheses, that's how much, for some reason, you have negatively with your bank. It's not like a minus sign and then like 2,000 pesos. No, it's open parentheses, 2,000 pesos, close parentheses. Now, how did that happen to me? I'm not going to get too personal, but I think something got charged to me, probably one of the services that I use online. And I charged it to my savings account. So when I checked that month, I was like, bakit may parentheses sa bank account statement ko? Oh, yun pala. That's how much money I was negative in my bank account. Now, so an advice to Bea, it's very difficult to go to sleep at night when you're trying to live your life paycheck by paycheck, right?
Exactly. And speaking of being in a topic of how to manage emergency or unexpected expenses, there's also one tip that I could basically give our viewers tonight, and that is to get an insurance system, insurance card, or something that would provide you security just in case you have to need it. And if you have to pay for the first 4 months, then so be it, because a lot of people tend to think it's a waste of money. But then when time comes, say for example, when my first baby came out, it was a big help. And there are two kinds of insurances. We have the government side, which is there's
maybe something like PhilHealth, right?
PhilHealth, yeah. And there are
very least.
True. And there are also insurances that you provide monthly payment, and then you'd have a cap. Like they'd pay so much for the next 48 days under hospitalization bills. Even the room, they catered and pay for your room expenses, the medicines, doctor's fee and whatnot. So it would come as a big help if you're able to set aside money to pay your monthly insurance system. And in the same manner, you'll be paying for your cell phone, which of course is a necessity. How much more important is your health, your life, compared to a lot of these essential things that we're also using nowadays? So it tantamounts to the being important of being prepared for your health, and same as being ready for unexpected occurrences, not just by your family, but also people or relatives that would probably need a helping hand out of your own pocket.
I think that's probably one of the things, especially for our binhi and kadiwa. So mga binhi and kadiwa, I know it's like, oh man, I'm setting aside X amount of money every month, but like, what am I'm not seeing anything out of it. You never know when you get to your mid-20s or your 30s or your mid-30s or your 40s, something might happen to you or to your family. And then you realize, oh, all those years that I've spent, whether it's been 5 years or 10 years, whether it's been putting it into PhilHealth or another financial institution that Ka Randall just mentioned, it matters when it comes to that emergency. Because for sure, life, you never know what happens in life. And when you have an emergency like that, and you've been spending the past couple of years just setting aside, no matter how small, it eventually becomes quite helpful. When I was younger, and I still apologize to my mom and dad for this, I was like on a camping trip, and I had an accident, and we were on the mountains, and I got an ambulance ride, and then from the ambulance ride, I got a helicopter ride to the hospital. And then I believe I spent maybe at the very least 3 days in the hospital. And this was in the States, so you can imagine how much it costs just for the ambulance ride. And then just for the helicopter ride, it's the only time I've ever ridden in a helicopter was on an emergency. Oh, I forgot. The reason why I was on a helicopter was because I had drowned or almost drowned. My parents tell me that when they finally pulled me out of the water, I was blue. So the only time I ever got into a helicopter was to go to the hospital. So again, I know it was a huge expense on my family. So again, for all the families out there, it's always good to be prepared. Again, PhilHealth or any other kind of third-party financial institution. Take it from Brother Randall. He has a family too. It can be very, very, very helpful.
And Brother Kyle, if I may go back, earlier you've asked about what are the top 3 expenses that you basically spend every month. So Elsie here mentioned top 3 foremost, house rental bills, same as with you, Kyle, and padala po sa family monthly. Ayan. So
yes. Now we've been talking about budgeting a lot, but how about spending? Because again, what is the date today, Brother Randall? Today is 7/3, and as we've noticed with a lot of the online sales in the Philippines and I'm sure around the world, I still don't know why they do this, but every time there's a repeating number, there's always a sale. So 7/7 is coming up. If we could get Bea back, I would ask her, Sister Bea, what is in your cart right now? I know you and your mom, Sister Bea, probably have a lot of things in your cart. I personally don't have it. But yes, 7/7 is just around the corner. How do we differentiate between what is necessary and what is something that we just want? Again, I mentioned earlier that I have an envelope system. I have an envelope in my app for needs and wants. A lot of the things that I have for wants right now. What are some of the things that I have in my wants? Of course, a pair of shoes that I probably don't need. Who needs an extra 3rd or 4th pair of shoes? How about you, Brother Randall?
Especially right now, Kyle, that you seldom go out to office because everybody works from home now. But the biggest point here, to some people, not to everyone though, but to some people, they find it confusing to find a really thin line of the needs and the wants. Have you tried having that problem right there? Like, you're having difficulty in distinguishing, is this a need or is this even just a want? So now it boils down as well to how you weigh things. So one specific example is, at some point, just the food that you put on top of your table. So there are days that you just want to eat something that you haven't eaten for quite some time. And then here comes, I don't want to mention any restaurant, but let's just say one viand costs so much and it's out of your budget. But then is that even a need? Whether you're craving for it, right? So you find it.
Do you need that extra rice, Brother Randall? Do you need that extra rice? Unless it's only rice, right?
Yeah, if it's only rice, then it doesn't matter. But here comes the thing. When you're having trouble of finding out if it's a need or a want, then perhaps you might want to go back to your list. If you've got some more money to spare, then it becomes a need or a want. So parang nagkakaroon siya ng distinguishing mark. It all depends. Kung may matitira ka pang pera o meron pa akong spare money, so I could take this, even if it's a want, I could probably categorize this as a need kasi I haven't tasted palabok for so long now, or special food coming out of a special restaurant, a delicacy.
I like how you mentioned palabok. Okay, I know what I'm having for dinner, or what Brother Randall's having for dinner. He's having some pancit palabok for dinner.
You guessed it right.
But right, that's true. I mean, let's just take food an example versus needs versus wants. I'm totally okay having adobo and rice. I don't need to have a whole pizza. That's a want, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm not a hobbit if you follow Lord of the Rings. For all of us nerdier, geekier brethren and brothers and sisters out there, like hobbits, they would have like pre-breakfast and after breakfast. They would have like 6-7 meals a day. We only need to have 3 meals a day. But yeah, that's one way I guess we could use as an example, as a sort of analogy versus needs and versus wants. I'm okay with spam and rice. My mom knows that whenever I go home, she doesn't need to cook me a fancy dinner. We don't need to go out to a fancy restaurant. I'm okay just having rice or whatever she cooks. And again, for me, it's just spam and rice. That's canned food. I'm good with that. And in college, I think for all of our brothers and sisters and our viewers who are in college, man, when I was studying and I was getting a very limited amount of allowance from my parents, just canned food and rice. Help me save money, right? Like the earlier you start, the better.
True, as long as it gets you by. And we have here a comment from Sophia, and she was saying earlier, yay, sinabi po ni Brother Randall, I will always keep that in mind po. Needs are greater than the wants. So that's how we should weigh things in. And another one here, I think they're a little bit delayed for some reasons. Could be an internet problem, same as what we're experiencing, Kyle. Top 3 expenses po, groceries comes in first, gasoline, then electricity. Ayan, maraming salamat po for all of those previously put into our comments for our discussion. Ayan.
And with that, again, we'll be waiting for your responses. Let us know what you think so far. If you've had any emergencies or unexpected expenses, how did you handle po? If you're on YouTube or Facebook, I'll be reading your responses in a few. But for right now, let's go ahead and get to an expert. This is coming from Sister Louise France Ugalde. She's a licensed financial advisor from the local congregation of Puerto Princesa District of Palawan North. We'll be hearing from her right now.
Isa po doon ay investment. Investment, it is something your money makes profit of. Ito ay pinaglalaanan mo ng salapi para makinabang ka. We can also call it wise expenditure dahil you put money so that you can also gain another income to it. What you can also call it is passive income or the money that works for you. Ano yung kino-consider natin na wise expenditure or investment? Insurance po, lalo na sa mga breadwinners dahil we can never know the unknown. The unknown are death, disease, and disability. Ikaw na nagtatrabaho at walang malaking naitatabi para sa tatlong unknown na yon, there will be an income replacement fund na tinatawag para sa iyong family. And it is your family's financial security. You can also consider health cards po for investment funds for your hospitalizations. Online business ang second po or partnership. Investing online business na namamanahon ngayon dahil sa pandemic and you can engage to a whole lot more people dahil sa power of social media. And we can consider po investing in yourself. Building yourself as a human being, to gain more foundation or knowledge para sa sarili mo. Huwag mo sabihin, gastos lang yung trainings and seminars or short online courses. Dahil dyan, mas lalo kang magiging credible sa career na tinatahak mo. Second po, na key point is expenses. There are 2 types of common and more familiar pakinggan na expenses. These are your wants and your needs. These are where most of your income goes. You eat, you go out, you need to put out your money. Yun po. There is a turning point po actually of how you put expenses into an income. For example, yung cellphone. The cellphone that you own is the one you use for your business or career. You call your clients, you use it to your online selling. Tapos po sa real estates, you make part of it as a rental occupancy or lease or even sell it po in the future. Kasi yung estates po, nag-a-appreciate siya or tumataas yung value niya. So kapag pagtagal, bumili ka ng lupa and pagtagal, binenta mo, na-appreciate siya, nagkaroon ka ng income. Third is when you have your car and you have your car not only for your personal use, ginagamit niyo siya sa business transactions niyo. This is when you use your expenses as an asset or investment. So gumagastos ka, pero you gain to it also. The main key point, why do people budget is for us to have savings. Why do we need to save? You can guilt-free buy what you also want kapag alam mong may savings ka. Kasi you're also ready when time comes, you need money. You can also have a peace of mind when you know you have that financial stability or becoming financially stable. When you do a proper budget po kasi, you know where your money goes and you can save easily. Doon kasi natin nalalaman kung kailan ba tayo magka-cut ng mga monthly expenses natin. So tayo po bilang mga kapatid sa loob ng Iglesia ni Cristo, we have our own ways of budgeting. We first prioritize our offerings in the church before we settle our whole budget kasi alam natin na utos yun sa atin na nakasulat sa Biblia. At kapag inuna natin ang sa Diyos, Diyos din ang bibiyaya. Kaya we always make sure po na we spend wisely and save regularly.
All right, and we're back. Today we're talking about two main things, spending and saving. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly read some responses. This one is coming from Triksha. She says, what does she say here? Her techniques to save money is to eat extra rice at home and bring money just for her list of needs. This is what I like about what she says. She stays away from the place where her cravings are located. So stay away from where your cravings are located. Brother Randall, I believe we have some responses as well over YouTube.
Yep, and from YouTube po, hold on a sec, it's hanging here. There it is, from Trixie. If may gulayan po tayo sa bakuran, especially kung organic, ay mas makakatipid po tayo as nagiging healthy ang ating katawan. Well, of course, if we do recall, this has been one of the programs launched by the church administration way back 2 to 3 years ago. Even prior to this pandemic, yung gulayan sa bakuran. Ayan. At hindi lang po yan, mapagkikitaan din po natin ito para sa ating hanap buhay. There you go, gulayan sa bakuran. I think that's the way to do it. Tama po ang gulayan sa bakuran. That's another follow-up by Lorenzo. Writing down your budget helps a lot too. Exactly what Brother Kyle has been doing. It's actually Japanese practice. I didn't know that until tonight. They're writing down all your expenses pala, Kyle, is a Japanese way of budgeting things. Ayan.
And speaking of new expenses, by the way, some things we've all had to add to our budgets. For example, alcohol, rubbing alcohol, some UV disinfectant. Of course, right now, since we're all working from home, I'm scared to see what my utility bill will look like because of all the aircon dahil sa summer pa. And of course, vitamins as well. This one is coming from Christian. He just sent us a photo of a face mask that looks like it's 250,000 Singapore dollars. Or is that dollars? I don't know why you're going to spend
dollars though.
That's definitely not a need, right? It is definitely not a need. All right, so now let's go ahead and go back to our sound check. I'm going to give you, ladies and gents, over YouTube and Facebook, one last chance to figure it out. Okay, can you please let us, while my face is frozen on your screen, can you please play our sound check mystery reveal sound one more time? Do we have it? Okay. There you go. So we have some guesses before we actually reveal what that is. Some guesses are over our Facebook and YouTube. Tricycle po, sabi ni Kim. Gutom ng tiyan. Gutom ng tiyan. My tummy does not sound like that when it's hungry. But let's see. Do we have any others? Also, blender is another guess. Water pump is another one as well. And thank you for your guesses so far. Why don't we reveal what that actually is? Not a tricycle. It's not my tummy. It's not Brother Randall's tummy. It's not Bea's tummy.
Not a motorboat
coffee maker.
And not a motorboat either.
It's not a motorboat either. So thank you very much to all of our listeners and all of our viewers trying your best to figure out what our mystery sound is for that.
Okay, and so to wrap up things, if I may, so the key here is to save, spend wisely, and again, it goes back to save regularly. Ayan. So that has been the main core point of the entire discussion from the beginning of this topic. And now that we've got into that part, let's try to ask, what does the Bible say?
God has the power to provide you with more than enough of every kind of grace. That way, you will have everything you need always, and in everything to provide more than enough for every kind of good work.
With Brother Kyle, I guess.
Oh, I'm going to read Bea plugs, no? All right, so thank you. That is what the Bible says. That is what the Bible says so far. So we'll go ahead and, of course, invite you again for our next episode that's happening next Saturday at 8 p.m. We'll go ahead and let you know what that is. It's a little bit of a surprise. But for all of those who are tuned in to us right now, whether it's over Facebook or over YouTube, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in with me, Randall, and Bea today, online and on INC TV.
And once again, po, before this episode would come to a conclusion, we'd like to thank our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and also po our CFO Coordinator, Brother Angelo Uranio V. Manalo. Thank you po for continuously inspiring us po. All of us here are very blessed po to have your leadership. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat po. And yes, we do have other programs as well for you to follow. Thank you so much for your support of UJ Radio. Again, this happens every Saturday at 8 p.m. and I'm seeing a lot of regular faces. So I hope we see those regular faces on our other programs too. Fit to Serve, that happens tomorrow, Sunday, 8 a.m. Yes, we also have Spotlight Season 6 that's happening tomorrow, Sunday as well, 7 p.m. We also have INC MV by request that happens Monday through Friday, 1 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. with Ryan and Brian. And then we also have Gourmet at Home, especially if you're the hungry type and you're trying to figure out what you want to eat. That happens every Saturday, 12 noon. And then we also have our INC playlist app. All you got to do is look for it for all of your latest music for INC. And then finally, INC PC's Facebook page and a YouTube channel for various activities, programs, and of course, your favorite INC music videos. Please follow us on YouTube and on Facebook. Again, brothers and sisters, and all of our guests, thank you so much for joining me, Bea, and Randall today on our topic about spending and saving. Again, just to wrap things up really quick, start as early as you can. It's never too late, right? So again, maraming salamat po, and we'll catch you next Saturday.
Stay safe, everyone.
Dearest God, please listen to your child, the prayer of your little one. Please help me to always understand your will and obey with all my heart. Though I'm young, dear Father, please guide me through this world so full of trouble. I pray and humbly beg of you. Whatever problems I should meet and suffer, help me please to remain true to you. I pray that I may never be without you, for I still have much to learn. Please guide me as I grow. I'll learn your words and follow your commandments, so that I'll remain your child inside the Church of Christ. Though I'm young, dear Father, please guide me through this world so full